Tim, what's your next big project like mini rack for you? Yeah, good question. I'll answer this real quick. The funny thing is, like, I do my projects and then I show you my projects. I do have projects that I haven't shown or done yet. One's down there, so I'm building a mini ITX PC. You'll see more about that. Not a big project, but a fun project. I rarely get to do PC builds. Like I feel like I'm just like so excited to do this because I've been building servers, racking servers, doing networking, doing mini rack builds, and I haven't built a PC in so long because my PCs like last forever. So I'm kind of excited about this one. I do have another kind of fun mini rack build coming in the future. That's not huge. And then I have a video coming out tomorrow. One of my side quests. So tomorrow's a side quest video. The side quest that I've kind of been on with Zigbee and stuff and learning all about MQTT, Zigbee to MQTT, ZHA, and a whole bunch of other stuff I had no idea that a lot of you helped me out with in Discord. So that's coming out tomorrow. So yeah, lots of little things, nothing gigantic. I do have something coming up. I think it's public. If not, it's not a huge secret. But I am going back to 45 drives. It's August, so later this month, I'm going back up to Canada to 45 Drives to kind of hang out with some of the other tech creators, and do some more stuff. So they have a topic this year. They invited me to talk on a topic, and I get to go back up to Nova Scotia. So it's gonna be pretty fun. So yeah, lots of little things. I'm super excited about it, and fall's coming. I don't know. It's too early to say, hey, fall's coming, but I love fall. So. Anyways, I think we're about halfway through summer. Anyways, yeah, that's what I've got going on. If you got something you want to share, throw it in chat. I'm going to start from the top and work my way down. So really quick, I just touched on what I've kind of been working on. Usually I let you know what I've been working on, but that's kind of what I've been working on. I've been working on this video to talk about Zigbee MQTT, creating your own Zigbee network, and basically creating your own Zigbee hub without a hub, and then connecting that to Home Assistant. And so this is something I've had like in the back of my head for a long time. I finally picked up some hardware, and I finally learned about all the components that come together that help you do it, and it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. So I'm going to share that. I think it's going to be out tomorrow. I probably have an hour left of editing. Got to do the dumb face thumbnails, and then hopefully I'll have that out. But that's what I've been working on. I mean, I did my stuff on mini rack stuff, and that's super fun. That's back there. I kind of took some of it apart too because I have a new idea for it. But I kind of need to take a break from mini rack because man, that took a lot of time. Fun, don't get me wrong. But after you do the same thing for about 40 hours, you're kind of ready for the next thing. I mean, unless it's work. But hopefully you're not doing the same exact thing over and over at work all day. Anyways, if you have something you want to share, throw it in chat. I'm going to start from the top. Now I'm going to work my way down. One other thing real quick. It's kind of fun now talking about the sparkling water. I don't know what to call it. Do I call it seltzer water, sparkling water, bubbly water? I like to call it bubbly water, but I think sparkling water is probably a little more universally known. But always got my favorite here. My caffeinated cherry cola. So this is just kind of waking me up a little bit. After coffee, there's this. A little bit of caffeine, a lot of bubbles, and a little bit of cherry. But then the other one, it's fun going to the store now to try to pick out ones that I love that I haven't drank in a while because I know I'm going to share them on Saturday. The other one is this LaCroix Limoncello. And so this is like, hard to describe limoncello unless you know what limoncello is. More like, think of like a lemon meringue. Think of lemon meringue in a can, and that's what this tastes like. So not the sour kind of lemon, more like a smooth lemon with a little vanilla, and it's super good. I really like it. I really like it. So yeah, that's what I'm drinking, and those are what I'm gonna be downing probably during the stream, probably really fast too. Okay, so if you have something you want to share, throw it in chat, and we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna move chat all the way up. So I can actually see what you guys are saying, and hopefully we got some stuff to talk about. So, let's see, from the top, let's see, Yakto says, okay, YWS, is this an update? Alex, I'm calling him Alex because that is something in Welsh, and I have no idea how to pronounce it. One day I'll figure it out phonetically. but I know it's Alex, so I'm going to say Alex. So Alex, configuring your switches now. Yocto. So Yocto YWS. Assuming Alex sent some switches over to YWS and you're configuring, so that is pretty awesome. Ready to blaze at 10/40 gigabits. Woof. Yeah, me too. I'm, I don't have everything on 10 gig. I probably only have a handful of stuff and another handful of stuff on 2 gigabit. But I would like to have at least 25 between my servers now. I'm getting to the point where, even 210 gig lagged is kind of like, I'm not waiting, but I would like to have a little more headroom when I'm doing backups. So, but yeah, DJ Keck, how's it going? Good day from the land down under. Hey, good day from the land up above, I guess then. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yocto, yep. Just did some firmware updates and everything looks good. Awesome. Yeah, I got to hear more about this. Because, yeah, one day, maybe I should just send some stuff over to YWS and I can be, I can have multiple data centers. I'm already a multi-zone. I don't know what to call it. I have multiple zones, home and my current co-location in Minneapolis downtown. Maybe I should send some stuff out to YWS too and do some fun networking stuff. At least to get some stuff out there. But maybe I should just visit and just buy the parts, come visit and assemble it there, so I don't have to ship something fully assembled. I don't know. Lots of ideas there. I need to get out the Pacific Northwest too and get a tour of YWS from the CEO himself. Alex, I'm just installing Hue gradients in my workshop under cabinet lighting. More Zigbees. Yeah, I'm there with you. I love Hue gradients. I mean, everything in here is Hue gradient. Little secret though. The one behind the TV in here isn't a Hue gradient. I think it's a Gophie or something like that. I don't know. I cheaped out on that one a long time ago. And to this day, I still wish I would have got the Hue version of it, the Play. It's super expensive, but it's the only non-Play one I have in my house. And you can kind of tell. I mean, you can't tell here, but when you're up close, you can tell because it doesn't have smooth gradients. Anyways, awesome. Under the cabinet lighting. That is awesome. I would love, as I was talking about earlier, I'm doing some stuff with Zigbee. Actually, lots of stuff with Zigbee. And I right now I have like 4 Zigbee networks. Sounds wild, but I do. And the challenge is that, I have one Zigbee network per Hue Play. So the way that Hue does it is that you have to have a dedicated hub, a Philips hub, if you have a Hue Play, because you assign that Hue Play to the hub and you can only have one per hub. And that creates an entertainment zone where you can add additional lights. So where do I use that? Well, on my TVs, right? I have my TVs. I have a light, strip behind it that lights, that syncs with the TV, and then I can sync lights in that room also there. And then because of Hue's, requirements, I end up having 4 hubs, and I would love to get down to 1 hub. I don't know. I wish Philips would come out with one Pro hub, but who knows? Anyways, I would love to pick your brain sometime about how you solve this and if you still use your Hue hubs, because, yeah, it gets wild. It gets wild. Everybody wants you to play like in their playpen, and sometimes I want to play in my own. Yocto, getting some 10 gig, 40 gig switches from Alex, configured and swapping in some new CPUs to do some compute nodes. Also, waiting for my new Plex NAS to arrive. All right, yeah. That sounds awesome, so that explains what's going on. Plex NAS, I'm there with you. I'm tinkering with some stuff, too. Tinkering with a lot of stuff when it comes to Plex, and also when it comes to containers and then dedicated machines, too. So I'm there with you. I'm there with you. Weekend project, Oopa, how's it going? I am Oopa. Weekend project update. I've been learning some core DevOps concepts and tools over the past few months, and I've gotten pretty comfortable with Git, GitHub, GitLab, Linux, Bash scripts, Docker, and CI/CD pipelines. That is awesome. I've Dockerized my existing web application, deployed it to GitLab using CI/CD, and pushed it into Docker Hub. My next goal is to host it on Kubernetes once I understand and learn enough. Wow, I would say that you've learned quite a bit. You've learned quite a bit. If you've never done this before and all of a sudden, you've learned all about Git, you've learned about Bash scripts, Docker, building stuff in CI/CD pipelines, storing it in a Docker registry or a container registry, you've learned quite a bit. So the Kubernetes piece is going to be kind of easy. I have some examples of how to do it, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to choose how you want to, tell Kubernetes how to pull down that latest image. You have some GitOps ways, and you have some normal CI/CD ways. So if you're using GitLab, there's a super easy way to do it. You basically do a kube control apply and tell the Kubernetes API, hey, go grab this, go grab this image or apply this deployment. The deployment will grab the image and it'll be in Kubernetes. So super simple way to do it. And then if you want, you can learn GitOps stuff later to do it with Argo or Flux. But man, that is a lot of stuff, Utpa. That is awesome. Congratulations. That's a ton to learn, especially when it comes to Git and CI/CD and building Docker containers and then storing them in the registry. Like those 3 or 4 things together, could take someone months to learn. So congratulations. That's awesome. Name. Oh, I got to get this. Name is Sirik. I'm going with name. Sirik. Name is Sirik. That's what I'm going. Hello. How's it going? Name is Eric. Oh man, that is so. I'm so glad you had an avatar that said Eric because I'm like trying to pronounce this thing. Name is Eric. Hey Eric, how's it going? Good to see you. Yeah, PC Geek 47 months. Holy cow. I agree, man. Thanks for your continued support. Appreciate it. Nganzal. I'm gonna test out the ARC 380 for Frigate, Plex, Jellyfin tomorrow, hoping it eliminates my 4K to 1080p transcoding issues. Okay, that is awesome. I just actually picked up the ARC, the 310, the single slot, low profile adapter, the graphics card, I guess I should say. I don't really have anything to put it in. It was like in stock on Amazon. I'm like $99. I better grab it because I too want to see like, hey, would this outperform my older P2200? I'm sure there are metrics on it. I haven't really looked, but I was wondering like, whoa, should I just swap out my P2200 for this A310? And will it still transcode, 4 or 5 streams, whatever it needs to do, along with doing AV1? Because that's really why I want it, because I want an AV1 encoder and decoder to encode some of my videos into AV1 for possibly long-term storage. So you're saying you got the 380, which is the big brother to that, and you want to use it for Frigate, Plex, and Jellyfin. That is awesome. You'll have to let me know because I'm curious. You should crank it up to four streams and do 4 4K streams to 1080, see how it does. And then on top of that, fire up Frigate and start doing your detection too. So that sounds awesome. Sounds fun. Sounds like you got a decent card. Yeah, I think Intel's onto something with these cards. You don't have to be the biggest and the best. They just need to be affordable and really focused on one thing. And I think these art cards are these lower end art cards are. They're affordable and they support the codecs that we want, along with some lightweight gaming if you wanted to do that. But I think people are buying these really for the encoder and possibly for AV1 too. So they're onto something. They need to keep on it. They're not getting good press right now for sure. Cyber Knight working on staying cool. It's 104 degrees here today and tomorrow. Cut the lawn now for some work in AC. More tech stuff. Yeah. Hey, so you got the hard stuff out of the way. I like that. I'm the opposite, where I do the fun stuff first and then I do the hard stuff later. Right after the stream, I'm going out to mow the lawn and it's almost 90 degrees here. And on top of the mowing the lawn, I'm going to cut back all of these bushes and stuff like that. But for me, that's kind of fun. So I guess I am kind of saving the fun stuff for later. I did the stuff I have to do this morning. I guess, a lot of editing, which is still fun. But yard work is something I do less often than I guess editing. So for me, yard work's kind of fun. But it's not going to be 104 degrees out. It's about 20 degrees cooler here. So yeah, stay cool. And have fun working inside for sure. Gabogi. Hope you're doing great. Coming fresh from the feeling of success. All right. I'm coming really close to my perfect home lab. Currently, everything is still in dev, but it can't be all that long until it's ready for prod. The stack is going to be fully I like this. Kuberized. I like it. We're now turning Kubernetes into a verb. I like it. The stack is fully Kuberized and mostly ready. Prox Max has the hypervisor free IPA for identity. Keycloak on K3S, RKE2 and prod for everything that doesn't support Kerberos on its own. GitLab and Argo CD for a declarative setup, postfix, and Dovecot for mail notifications. Wow, that is totally like the open source stack. That is pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. I hope you get to it. Cool. So you're moving then from K3S to RKE2, it sounds like, or wait, RKE2 is in prod. Either way, you're moving some more You're doing some Kubernetes changes. Free IPA for identity, pretty cool. And then Keycloak then for your authentication for everything that doesn't support Kerberos. That is pretty awesome too. GitLab and Argo CD, awesome. Yeah, I do so much Flux. I've been considering bringing in Argo for my stuff. I've been in this huge struggle too, like with my own home lab, I should say my home production, because I'm going to start I need to start separating the two, even the way I talk about them. So I have my lab piece where I can break and destroy anything I want, and then I have my home production piece where I can't break and destroy everything I want. I treat it basically like a production environment that it would at work. Minimal changes, very pointed changes, and max 9s on the uptime, as much as I can. And so I'm kind of going through this now too, where I did everything in Kubernetes, high availability, K3S, 3 nodes, and storage, high availability. It just wasn't as stable as it should be. And it's a little bit counterintuitive, right? You build this HA system, but it's not as HA as you would like it to be. Well, it is HA, but it's not as fault tolerant, I guess, as I want it to be, right? I reboot a node. All those pods that were connected to that node and maybe to that storage are down until that node comes back up, or until the 5 minutes that they reshuffle and do everything. And then sometimes even then they don't shuffle and do everything onto different nodes because, either I have labels or selectors that say not to, or the volume that they're attached to is down and needs manual intervention. So it's like, don't get me wrong. If you have Kubernetes and run Kubernetes, it's great. You usually scale beyond these problems, right? That's the thing with Kubernetes. You try to scale out so much that you have less gaps. Right? You have less gaps. You run more replicas, right? Instead of running one web service, you run 2 web services or 3 web services. If you have, 10, 20, 30, 40 nodes and you get a lot of load on that web service, you load, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. So you try to scale beyond, what your fault tolerance is. And so at home, I can't do that, right? I can't do that. I have 3 nodes. Most nodes are not stateful at all, so I can't even scale them more than 1. And so anyways, I've been just wrestling with this. I went back to Docker for my home prod stuff, and now I'm like, man, I miss all my Kubernetes tools. Things are super stable, 0 complaints in Home Assistant, 0 complaints in Plex. It all works great. But now I'm just like, I kind of miss my Kubernetes tooling. I miss everything. I miss GitOps. I miss, all of this stuff. So I've been debating either building something to give me, GitOps with Docker. For some reason, there's nothing that exists. I get it, Portainer's out there, but I mean nothing like a Flux that exists out there for Docker. I wish Flux would just support Docker, but I totally get it. No, they're a Kubernetes tooling. They shouldn't focus on Docker at all because this is such a rare edge case. It's mostly super small businesses, medium-sized businesses maybe, and people at home who just want to run a Docker stack. So I've been considering building something myself, or just going back to maybe a super big, but basically a single node Kubernetes cluster. So I get the management tools of Kubernetes and the stability of one node. I know that doesn't sound like stable, but it is pretty stable when you only have one node and you have local storage as your storage class, so that all of your files exist on that node and your services exist on that node. So the only way it can be down is if that one node is down. Whereas the other way, when you have distributed storage, all it takes is for one node in that environment to be down if your volume is on that one node. So anyways, it's if you don't even care about Kubernetes, you're probably like, what is this guy talking about? Anyways, don't get me wrong, I still manage 3 clusters here at home. I manage, 4 or 5 at work, spread over 60 to 70 nodes. I totally love Kubernetes, but for home production, I need to tighten some stuff up. So anyways, as you could tell, you touched on a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Hey, real quick, dude, Kate, let me see. KDLOC. I'm just gonna say Panda. Hey, thank you so much for the Prime sub. I appreciate it. Thanks for the support. 2123 and MB Cool. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. But Panda, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, as you could tell, you know, I've been wrestling with this for a long time. And if you've been in my streams, you know I've been wrestling with this to where I thought like, yep, I'm back on Docker. But now I'm kind of like, I miss the ecosystem of Kubernetes. So anyways, the reason why I even mentioned that is because you mentioned Argo. So I was thinking, okay, well, if I do a single node Kubernetes cluster for my home production, then I might bring in Argo. That's how I got there. Dude, the things are like going crazy in here. Dude, thank you so much. Dude, Cyber9, how's it going? Dude, thank you so much. Gifted 5 subs. Oh my gosh. So 3Dask, one-click update. I like one-click update. I'm there too. Atomic Turtle, HKD, Adulton Nature. Oh, Adult Nature, and Sincere Hippie. Hey, I like it. Enjoy your gifted sub from Cybernight. Dude, thank you so much. I appreciate it, Cybernight. Thank you. Thank you. But Alex just got another Pro Max 48 switch. Woo, I don't even have a Pro Max 48 switch. I need to talk to Ubiquity about this one. No, I'm kidding. Just got another, so not one, but another. So at least 2 Pro Max 48 switches. Just need to adopt and cable that. RGBE goes. Yeah, I agree. RGB goes all the colors love. I totally agree. That is awesome. I have my 24 Pro Max back there. It's actually like in my test little rack. I'm gonna move it now into my studio rack and then move my old 24 port into my test rack. Cause like, why do I have this, this awesome switch in there in my test rack? So oh yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, I need some more RGB. DGB Gabodi, woo, not enough characters. I assume that was I assume you mean for your message. I'm gonna have it cycle. I need to figure out how to do that. Automatically apply the cycle when the theme gets applied. I kind of like that. Anyways, you guys are probably like, what the heck are you talking about? Sigor, hey everyone, I'm Upa. Call me Mr. Lucky because I recently got a NAS with 4 3TB drives loaded for $50. Yeah, that is pretty cheap. That is pretty awesome. That is pretty lucky to be able to get a NAS. So you got a whole entire system. I don't know if it's integrated or a dedicated NAS or just a system that you can use as a NAS. And 3TB drives, fully loaded. 4 of them for $50. Yeah, that's pretty good. That is a deal. I agree, Mr. Edward. What a deal. Let's see. Upa says, yeah, my friend had it and it wasn't using it, so I got it from him. That is awesome. I love it when things like that happen because your friend could have just kept that until it was totally antiquated and you couldn't use it at all ever again. So that's awesome. I'm like that too. I like to get rid of my gear while there's still a lot of life left in it. And I try to give it away when I can. I usually do it locally because of shipping and all of the hassle, but I love to give gear away to someone when there's still life in it, not when it's just like not useful to me anymore. Like it could be useful to me, but I don't know. I just like seeing people's excitement when they get something that they can use, and especially when it's better than what they have, or if they didn't have anything at all. I don't know, super rewarding. Yeah, my friend had it and wasn't going to use it. Yeah, I got it from him. Yep. Majestic Coding Switch. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. I'm Upa. What is the primary desktop operating system you use every day? Linux or Mac? If Linux, then which distro? To be honest, right now, it is Mac. This whole thing is running on Mac OS. Like everything you see right now is running on my Mac because I have my Windows desktop. So speaking of giving away things that are still useful, my Windows desktop is still useful, but I've been planning on building a new one. And since I've been waiting so long to see what Intel's doing on 15th gen, I bought a Mac Studio in between because I didn't want to upgrade my Windows system to 12, 13, or 14 because I thought, hey, if I'm on 8th gen, like I want a big jump. And I always heard like their new architecture is coming in the next version. So I heard that with 12. I heard that with 13. Now I hear it with 14. 15 has to be it. And now, Intel are starting on fire. So who knows if that's going to be it. So long story short, I'm using a Mac Studio day to day. For work, I use a MacBook I have for years. And my Windows machine is right here. And I actually put Linux on it. So I put Ubuntu on it. So my Windows machine has Ubuntu. I have Mac Studio. And then my little B-Link that I got a couple of weeks ago for my mini rack is running Windows 11. So, and then I have Windows VMs and stuff like that. So right now it's primarily Mac. Once I get my Windows machine, I think I'm going to shift some stuff around and I'm going to build a new Linux machine. So in my studio rack, I'm going to have a Mac racked, a Linux machine racked, and a Windows machine, Linux and Windows machine separated rack. So 3 different systems all racked here and then connected to my video inputs so I could just switch to any OS I want, have a pretty good switch to or a KVM. So I can switch to anything and use anything I want and record tutorials and anything I want. So, but yeah, I know, boo, hiss, hiss. I'm using a Mac right now, but you know, I've always bounced around between Windows and Linux. I hope to get back on more Windows stuff with WSL because that's what I used for a long time. Because once WSL came out, I was like, poof, this is it stops me from hopping over to Mac more often. So, anyways, yeah, it's pretty awesome. And then distribution, I choose Ubuntu. Maybe that's easy. For me, I think of it like dedication. Like I've been using Ubuntu since like 4.10 or something. I don't remember. Something very early on. 4.10, was that in like 2010 maybe? Or was that 04? I think it's 2004. I don't remember. Anyways, it was either 4.10 or 6.04. Which I think we're both, I don't know. Anyways, Ubuntu for a long time. I still like it. I mean, I've been with them through Unity. I've been with them through all their back and forth on the UIs. And still, I choose it because it's super compatible. And, you know, it's based on Debian. And where I get it, like, based Debian is pretty up to date right now. After some years, it's not so up to date. And so sometimes the developer tools that I use require, a newer version of something. So. Sound like I'm making excuses, and I kind of am. So, anyways, yeah, good question. DJ Keck, playing with my new switch, replacing my UniFi 16 PoE light switch with my new TP-Link M2. It's a 28-port switch, 24 2.5 gigabit ports, 4 SFP plus ports, 16 PoE plus ports, 8 PoE plus ports with layer 3 routing. Ooh, so that is interesting. So you got a mix of ports on there. That is awesome. Let me look at that really quick. So you get 20. So it has 28 ports. That's such a, oh no, that makes sense. Yeah, SFP. Oh, I got it. So it's 24 port, but then it has 4, SFP plus off to the side. But then of those 24 ports, some of those are mix and match. And that's it's funny because a lot of people give UniFi or Ubiquiti a lot of flack when they mix and match those ports, but for other brands, it's okay. I'm just saying. I'm teasing. I would say I would have loved to stay with UniFi, but the cost of that type of switch would have been over $3,000 Aussie dollars. Yeah, I totally get it, especially if you're in the land down under. I totally get it. There's a huge tax on just getting stuff there most of the time, at least if it's depending on where it's coming from. Whereas the TP-Link was 1,200 Aussie. Yeah, I totally get it. Aussie dollars. Now I just got to get used to the Omada system. I also had to send one of my Zima cubes back because it blew up 9 drives. Woo! Yeah, because the Zima cube was recently released, at least the Pro version. So yeah, that's not good. If it blew up 9 of your drives, yikes! Yeah, that is not good. Yeah, I would. And when you say blow up, like physically, I don't mean I mean maybe it physically blew them up, but I don't know. That's sad. Hopefully you get it figured out. Or hopefully they get it figured out, right? Because you're sending it back. Mr. Edward, friend deals. Haha, I got a Samsung 980 Pro 512 gig for free in this way, but usually you have to exchange some hardware. Yeah, that's a great deal too. 512 gig is in a weird space for some people, but man, that's a great OS drive, right? Especially like on servers and stuff like that. Like on desktops, it's borderline too small if you're going to install all your applications and your Steam games or whatever. Not even Steam games. If you're a developer, that's borderline small for me because like I have dev tools and all this stuff. It's great for an OS though. It's great for general purpose OS and for server OS for sure. For sure. Yeah, that is a great deal. Make sure you update your firmware too. I'm huge on that. So update the firmware. Yeah, Radal was fun for sure. For sure. I like talking to him. He just has a totally different sense of humor than me, and something I could never get away with. So it's fun to talk to him. I especially like it when he says hot dog waters. Like sometimes he'll describe stuff that's bad as hot dog water, or sometimes he'll describe it as butt cheeks. I have no idea why he describes bad things as hot dog water or butt cheeks, but it makes me laugh every time. So anyway, Moop, do you have a domain controller set up in your home lab for managing your services? No, I don't. Funny you mentioned that. I was just thinking that this morning because I've been doing a little bit of research for my topic for 45 drives for my talk there. And no, I don't. I have considered it. I have considered, either using, some kind of, I don't know, open source solution, or even just bringing in Windows to do it to see if I can still get Linux machines to join to the domain. So no, I don't. Mr. Edward, nice dark theme hat. Yeah, this is, it's funny. I couldn't find my other hat. I was like scrambling around, like, where is it? I found my glasses, couldn't find my hat. And I realized, oh, it's in the car. Well, the stream was already starting. You could probably not see me in the screen. So I was like, I better just grab what's over here. So yeah, I grabbed it. It's usually sitting back there. I should wear it more often. But I like to keep this one nice for some reason. I don't know. I like to keep like new stuff new. And so anyways, I rarely put it on for just like, day-to-day type stuff like my other hat. My other hat I've had for years. So thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, you can pick it up if you like it. More guest stars would definitely be awesome. Awesome, Alex. I agree. And I'm going to do it more often. I'm going to challenge myself to do it at least once a month. Once I get things a little bit more situated with my stream and my stream audio, I'll do it a lot more. There's just a few things that are really, really hard to test on a live stream until you go live. And I found that out. I found that out twice. Once was last week with Radal. Fortunately, I was able to clean up a lot of the audio when I released it on YouTube. But I sound like a robot in that one, so it's the audio is pretty much hot dog water. Mr. Edward, yeah, dude, I look at it, if you look at it this way, it's a steal compared to what you can get outside of your connection. I agree. The homie hookup. The homie hookup. That's what we used to call it. Yeah, it's getting hooked up from your homies is always a good thing because it's going to be cheaper than anywhere else. And it's going to go in good hands. It is. Let's see. Dr. Cuddle, how's it going? Dr. Cuddle converted my UniFi APs to OpenWRT. Woo. They have been declining in stability. Original firmware, so trying this out. Wait, you applied OpenWRT to your UniFi APs. That is interesting. So you went pretty bare bones. I didn't even know you could flash them with third-party firmware. So I think you figured that out. That's awesome. And interesting to know at the same time that you could do that. All right, it's limoncello time. This stuff's good. Oh, I'm like spraying stuff everywhere. Oh yeah, it's like drinking a lemon meringue pie. Whoa, dude. Dude, Alex, what's your new audio toy for guests? Seems good. Yeah, good question. So my new audio toy that I've been thinking about getting is a Rode Podcaster Pro. Or Duo. Shouldn't say the Pro. So the Rode Podcaster Duo. So right now I have a Wavelink, and don't get me wrong, it's a great product. It works way better on Windows than it does on Mac. On Mac, I have all kinds of problems, and it's probably a problem with Mac and not necessarily with the hardware, although my first one did die and I had to RMA it. Anyways, that aside, Mac has a lot of problems with USB stuff. Like they've been trying to solve this for, I don't know, a decade. Whenever things get overloaded, it just says like, hey, I'm not gonna like acknowledge that a USB thing is plugged into me anymore. I mean, it did it on Intel and it still does it on their Apple Silicon chips. Still happens to me. So anyways, long story short, I've been thinking about going with the Rode Podcaster Duo because it's an external device. So the nice thing about that is I don't need my PC to be on anymore to record my voice. And so, which doesn't sound like a big deal to those listening, but when I record a lot of my videos, I have to have, like when I record all my YouTube stuff, I have to have my Mac or my PC on to record audio. And that's, if my Windows machine is on, that's creating some noise, although it's running Linux now. And if my Mac's on, it's not creating noise, but I have this 57-inch widescreen monitor that generates a lot of heat. So I kind of want to get my audio out of not being tied to a machine itself. So I can record locally on that device, and it has a lot of presets for almost every microphone too, so I could do some preamp type stuff or some pre-processing, which would be pretty nice because then it would save me from doing it later. So anyways, yeah, Mackie too. Yeah, Mackie DLZ Creator. Thank you, Alex. I have seen that. It's a little more expensive. It's a little more expensive, but it looks pretty awesome too. So I'm not sold on the Rode Podcast Duo, although I would like a Pro. It's a lot more expensive, and I don't need 4 inputs. But I like the Duo, one, because it is Rode. I trust them, and I have Rode mics. And 2, because it has a lot of presets, and it looks pretty cool, and it has some buttons and stuff like that. It has RGB, not that I even care about that. And then it has multiple XLR inputs, so I could let's say I wanted to do a podcast on the road. I could plug 2 XLR inputs into it and record it right there, and I wouldn't even need a machine on at all. So besides that. So anyways, yeah, I'll look at the Zoom too. I'll look at the Zoom. I know there's a lot of people in this space, especially with like podcasting like exploding, over the last 4 years. There's a lot of people in this space. But I'll definitely narrow it down. I'll post in the audio video channel on Discord as I get closer, or I might ping you guys on asking, hey, why would you choose the Zoom, or why would you choose Mackie over this? So anyways, I think it's a cool device. I've watched like at least 8 YouTube videos on it, and I'm so close to buying it. But it's like a $500 purchase. This isn't like, $100, $199, where I'm like, okay, I can buy it. Won't really affect anything. I've made okay money this month on YouTube. That's kind of how it goes. Now that I'm doing YouTube more, but this is like $500. So this is something like I need to, like, this is solving a problem for me. It's solving audio, and it's pretty important to have audio, even more so than video nowadays. And so I want to make sure that I make the right purchase, and the purchase that I make lasts for 4 or 5 years. So anyways, yeah, it's gonna be. It's going to be interesting for sure. Anyways, once I get that device, going back to your original question, it's going to be a lot easier for me to do audio stuff because the audio will be captured and processed outside of my Mac rather than inside of my Mac right now with the Wave XLR, because that's just how it works. It doesn't have any onboard processing at all. So if I can offload that to a dedicated machine, like a Podcaster Pro or a Mackie or a Zoom H3, I guess, that would be awesome, because then my Mac doesn't have to do that work, and then I don't have to have my Mac or Windows machine even on when I record a video, just my camera and that device, which is pretty awesome. Keep it nice and cool in here and quiet. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun to talk about that stuff. I don't have many people to talk about that stuff about either. It's just kind of me just figuring this stuff out, and the people on YouTube that I follow that do AV stuff. Gimli, Theon, not first time, but been here a while. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Oh yeah, this is, again, like, if you like sparkling water, the limoncello, it's like drinking a lemon meringue pie. It's just like summer in a can. Speaking of, I would love some lemon meringue pie. I don't know, I gotta find some pie soon. I haven't had pie in a long time. Seems like the only time I have pie is on like Thanksgiving, and it's like pecan and pumpkin, and then 11 months out of the year I don't have pie at all. I need to eat more pie. Inferno, hello, I am new to home labbing and all. I got an Optiplex 7040 for myself, and it works fine. I installed Prox Max on it to learn about virtualization, but it runs good for 3 or 4 days, and then it randomly shuts down. There's nothing random in the system logs. How can I troubleshoot this? Inferno, yeah, this is a tough one. I'm gonna bet if it's an older machine, this is just me going out on a limb, the first thing I would do, a couple of things. One, I would just pop off the CPU cooler and put new paste on it. Like, if I get an old machine that was given to me and it's old and it's not doing anything yet, first thing I'm going to do, open the whole system up, clean it out. That means blow it out, reseat the RAM, take the RAM out, reseat it. And I'm going to put new thermal paste on it too, because most likely that person had thermal paste on it from when they bought it. And so now that thermal paste might be 10 years old and it could be overheating. So it could be that. May or may not be. The next thing I would do is then I would go, okay, like how would I test out if it were overheating? One, you could test it with running like Prime 95 and having your CPU be spiked to where it generates, enough heat to where it maybe then does overheat. You could try that. And then I would test the RAM too. So I would use like memtest86 because most of the time stuff like that, I think, is especially just like a hard shutdown like that. It's going to be power, or it's going to be CPU, or it's going to be memory. And so I think running something like Prime 95 and memtest86, like those two, boot disks to actually test those components, are going to put enough stress on it and generate enough heat and actually test the device too to see if anything's wrong. So if it's one of those three things, you're going to get a pretty good test just by running those two tests. So that's what I would try. Then after that, it's tough to track down. Is it hardware? Is it software? A hard shutdown like that is most likely going to be hardware, especially if there's nothing in the logs. That's tough, which means like there was an error that it crashed. It was like beyond a kernel panic, because you would usually see that in the logs, or or something throwing an error. But if it's just like off, yeah, that's tough. That's what I would go after. That's what I go. I mean, these are old school methods to do it too. Like most people, don't do this, but this, if I'm tracking something down that hard, that's what I would do. You could even try doing it before you replace the thermal paste if you want to see like cause and effect. Run Prime 95, because that's really gonna heat up your CPU. And if you're gonna have a problem, it's probably gonna happen in the first hour, right? And same with memtest86. And then you could, replace the thermal paste. And then at the same time, blow out the fans, make sure fans are turning, all that kind of stuff. You could monitor temperature too, right? You could install some kind of monitoring on the device and monitor stuff that way remotely for something else. Lots of ways to do that, or even, do it locally and write those values to your drive with some kind of monitoring utility. And then, when it shuts down or dies the next time, you could look at those values and say, oh yeah, look, the CPU was astronomically high, or look at the RAM, it was super hot, or these fan RPMs stopped altogether. So there's I'm betting hardware. So I'm betting it's a hardware thing because those are hard to track down. Oh, you did change it. Oh, and it did. All right. So maybe Prime 95 then, stress out that CPU. Stress out that CPU. Or like I said, if you tried all those things, run some kind of monitoring utility. I assume you're running, I think you said you're running Prox Max, right? If you're running, yeah. How did I get onto this one? It's crazy. I don't know. Anyways, if you do have, let me see. And it works. Yeah, Prox Max. So if you do have Prox Max on it, you do have Debian. I would install some, monitoring tools that'll write the values out to disk. Next time it happens, you could look at those values and hopefully you can correlate, hey, this thing shut down. You could see some kind of trend that happened right before it shut down. Yeah, that's tough. I would go after that stuff. And if you want, just do the logging first, because then you have cause and effect, before you start changing stuff. So first measure, monitor, then adjust. Instead of me, I'm adjust and measure at the same time, and then I never have any idea what happened. But if you have the time, yeah, I would measure and monitor first, and then you can actually do something, actionable. You're like, hey, yeah, the CPU did get too hot, or the fan stopped working for no apparent reason, something like that. Yeah, good stuff, good troubleshooting stuff. I really have to think about this because, fingers crossed, my stuff's been working pretty good. But, I'm many days trying to figure this out on PCs, right? For some reason, it seems like, when I did a ton of PC stuff, with older motherboards, something would always go wrong. But I've been pretty lucky on motherboard stuff and CPU stuff and RAM stuff for sure. Oh yeah, sweet. So this is going back to getting stuff from friends. How do you stay current with new technologies and updates in the HomeLab setting? This one's tough. I mean, this one's tough. It's tough. Why is it tough? Because I feel like HomeLab stuff, a lot of HomeLab stuff, there's a line between trickle down enterprise stuff, right, and self-hosting stuff. A lot of the trickle down enterprise stuff isn't new, right? And so a lot of the things that I do is like people say, yeah, that's been available in enterprise for 10, 20 years, but hey, I'm doing it at home now. So that's kind of new. So there's a lot of trickle down enterprise stuff that now becomes accessible for home. And how do I stay, how do I stay current with that? Well, I I just get inspired one day and I try it out. That's the tough thing in HomeLab too, is because, especially for content creators, is because like you're doing something a lot of times that people know about or have done before at work, and so you got to kind of put a spin on it for at home. But then as far as new tech, AI, right? Big one. I knew that AI was always in my back of my head, but I thought like, I'm not just going to do some overview of AI. I wanted to really like apply it first and then tell people how I apply it and use it in my day to day. And so that's just keeping your finger on the pulse with technology as a whole. So I think with most technology, especially if you're a home labber, or especially if you create content around this stuff, it's keeping a finger on the pulse, both with enterprise stuff, or or even trends in technology in general, and then trying to think how you can apply it to your small little system at home, and then see if you can do something with it. So I think it's a combination of those three, but most of it is just I don't know, being aware of trends in tech, right? But again, like I said, with HomeLab stuff, a lot of it's trickle down from enterprise. And so sometimes that stuff becomes accessible and other times it's not, 100 gig networking. I know that's accessible to like Wendell and stuff, but it's not like to me right now. Well, I guess it could be. It was accessible to Radal. So, but maybe one day. But yeah, it's tough, and it's tough. And then on top of that, you have to balance like what you're going to spend your money on too, right? It's one thing to just go all out and apply 100 gig networking to my network, but it also costs a lot of money too. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. LED ashtray. LED, I don't know where this is coming from, but okay. LED ashtray. Something about LEDs in general. I'm for it, as long as you can change the color of that LED ashtray. Inquiry mind. Feeling exhausted is my first symptom when coming down with COVID. Oh. Yeah. I hope it's not that. That's how I felt. Yesterday. Funny story. That's how I felt. And we were getting ready to go to dinner. And then my wife took a call. And I was so tired. I laid down on the ground right here. And I just I fell asleep. Totally random. My wife came in. She's like, are you taking a nap? What's going on? But I was so tired that I couldn't even sit up straight. And I never nap. And I was like, okay, if I am tired, I'm just going to sit down here and just rest for a second. And I fell asleep laying on the hardwood floor in here. So that's kind of how I felt. But I feel a little bit better now. I had a headache. I had a lot of the symptoms for sure. But yeah, hopefully not that. I feel better. Mint condition. Awesome. Thanks for doing these live talks. Hey, Inquiry Mind, no problem at all. Thanks for being here. I love talking about this stuff. And I love being an advocate for the things you're doing, and the advocate for things you're excited about or things you're talking about. And I guess kind of being a voice, because this stuff, is getting broadcast to other people, ends up on YouTube. So what you talk about is what I end up talking about, and it gives me a lot of inspiration too. So it's not all one way. I get a ton out of this too. So like I said earlier in the stream, this is the one time a week where I get to talk about stuff where people understand what the heck I'm even talking about. There's going to be times later on today where they have no idea what I'm talking about, and I'm going to just be kind of nice weather we're having, huh? That's going to be me later on in the day. Not really, but that's just me every day, because I'm believe it or not, I'm kind of an introvert. I'll talk about stuff that I'm familiar with. Otherwise, it's kind of hard for me to talk about other things. Anyway, so let's talking about myself is one of those things I don't like to talk about either. So, Gub Dump. Hey, have you tried or heard about NetData? I have heard about NetData. It's one thing that I keep hearing about that I wanna adopt or I wanna use. And so NetData. So I've read a lot about NetData. I've seen it on Tom Lawrence stuff, and I want to use it at some point. But I always hear NetData isn't for cataloging. It's more of describing your network maybe declaratively, so that those settings can then apply to the devices you have. I don't know. So for some reason, when I read about it, people are explaining it more like it's like an SD, like a software-defined network thing. where you define it and then it'll configure stuff. I don't know. Oh, Netbox, NetData. Oh, thank you, Alex. Almost went on a tangent there. NetData. Oh, yes, I have. Oh, okay. So NetData. Yes, I like NetData. I have tried NetData. I run NetData on my TrueNAS box. So TrueNAS added NetData first class like application now where you can spin it up and monitor it. It is pretty awesome. You get a ton of stats for free. You get a ton of value out of it for free. The one thing, I get it. Like NetData is a company, they need to make money, and I get it. Like I totally get it. Like if you're a company, you need to make money, or you're not in a company, it becomes a hobby, right? And you got people to pay for, and it's all the stuff that come along with it. The one thing though that kind of doesn't bum me out, because I'll probably eventually doing it, is that the way to centralize it is through their cloud product. I wish there was a way to self-host their cloud product. I totally get it why they don't, right? They need to make some money. Otherwise, that product wouldn't exist, and it's a really great product. So I shouldn't feel this way, but sometimes I do. Sometimes I do when it's my hardware. Do I want to send my metrics out to this company, even though I trust them enough to install it on my machine? That's debatable. And it's not so much the company, it's like, what if it fell into the wrong hands? And that's a lot of the reasons why, I don't send data to some companies. It's not so much that I don't trust the company, it's just what if it fell into the wrong hands? And so, I trust most companies that I trust. The companies I trust them to do the right thing. But sometimes that's not in their control if they become compromised. Anyways, long story short, I am familiar with it. I should use their cloud version and send some of my data to it, because like the dashboards you get, the data you get is so rich and so awesome. Like think of how hard it is if you've ever done Grafana, if you've ever done Prometheus. I'm not going to lie. It's super hard to configure Prometheus endpoints on everything and scrape all of that data. And then on top of that, store that data. And then on top of that, make a dashboard that actually looks good. With NetData, you just install the thing and it's running. And not only is it collecting those metrics, you have a great dashboard already. And it's served out on the local machine. So it's pretty awesome. Like TrueNAS has it. It is awesome. That's how I tend to look at TrueNAS now, because it's a lot more useful than their dashboard, which is just a few components. Like TrueNAS's dashboard is kind of the 10,000 foot view, right? What's going on now? What should I pay attention to, right? But when you go into NetData, it's like, what's going on right now, at the network level, or what's going on right now, at the memory level. And it's pretty awesome. And ARC caching is in there too. So anyways, long story short, I have tried it. I like it. I think pretty soon I might, play around with it some more, because don't get me wrong, I love Grafana and I love Prometheus. It's great for cloud native stuff. It's even great for some non-cloud native stuff, right? Like the node exporter for virtual machines. But it's hard to configure. It is hard to configure. And it's hard to come up with, dashboards and graphs that actually are meaningful, right? It's one thing to make a graph and look at it and say, oh, it's pretty. But then when something happens, you don't get any value out of it. I think with NetData, you realize a lot of that value right away, because they created the charts and the graphs for you already. And plus you can import them and change them. So anyways, yeah, I'm a huge fan. But to this day, I only use it on TrueNAS. I have considered putting it on other things. But, it's this push and pull with me, because I love Grafana, I love Prometheus, and, that's a, cloud native type stuff for Kubernetes. And then, but then, it's bittersweet, because, configuring all of that and storing all that data is challenging, versus NetData, which is just like, yeah, install it and you're good to go. So, yeah, good question, Alex. Thanks for helping me out on that. I would have been going on and on about NetBox. So yeah, NetData, cool. Cool. It gets a thumbs up for me. Open source. If you install it on your machine, you get all of those metrics for free. It creates an endpoint. You go to the website, and it looks beautiful out of the box. 99% of what you want for all your machines. Just install it. Just know that if you want to essentially see that and toggle between all of your machines, you have to use their cloud product, and that's going to be a decision you're going to have to make. So, yeah, good question. Greeting and salutations from Shakopee. All right, Shakopee, not too far from here. All right, Shakopee. I moved my home MDF downstairs and transferred my network behind OpenSense firewall. Now I can work on other improvements, VLANs, Ansible automation, Ceph, or other NAS, and yeah, exactly. And I can break into smaller tasks as I'm available. That is awesome. Yeah, so big move there. You transfer your network. So you moved my home MDF downstairs. Awesome. So a lot of shuffling, then got your network behind OpenSense, and so now you can work on more tasks. I know how that goes. I always have a couple lined up. Some are that I have to do, some are I want to do, and I gotta balance that. But most of the time when it comes to HomeLab, it's mostly stuff I want to do. Except for running network cables. That's one I never want to do. And I keep saying this, but I'm going to have to do it. I feel bad. My wife's been on Wi-Fi for years. And I never ran network to that spare room because we never used that spare room. And now I wish I would have because she used that spare room for an office. And she's been on Wi-Fi, and I feel bad. So anyways, I have a cable going from my office all the way to her office. So now she has gigabit. But I need to put it in the wall. And then at the same time, I may as well run fiber all the way down to my home lab. And this just does not sound fun at all. So, but yeah, sounds awesome. Congratulations. And hello from Minneapolis. You're not too far from me in Shakopee. Going up to Canada sounds like a song from the 60s. Yeah, going up to Canada. I love Canada. I love it. It's not too far from me here in Minnesota, about 4 or 5 hours north. Because Minneapolis is in southern Minnesota. But yeah, I love Canada. I've been there many times. I lived in Toronto for a while. I've been to Calgary quite a few times. I go to Calgary so that I can drive to Banff and Lake Louise. Lake Louise is my favorite place in the world right now. I've been there 3 times. And then, yeah, I've been out to Nova Scotia once for 45 Drives event and going then again soon. So yeah, it'll be pretty awesome. I like Canada just because like the climate, the people, and just like the landscape too, because it's mostly rocky and woods, and I kind of like those things. I call it angry water. Oh, this water. Oh yeah, bubbly water is called angry water. It's funny. You mentioned that because now sometimes like fancy restaurants trying to be fancy will say, "Do you want still water?" And I'm like, "Still water? That's in Minnesota. Are we going to Stillwater?" Or like, what are you talking about? Like, and they'll mean like, do you just want some tap water, right? And I'm like, wait, the first time I heard it totally threw me off, right? Do you want some still water? It's like, how is it moving? Like, do I have the option of getting moving water? And I was like, oh, they probably mean seltzer water, bubbly water, angry water, like you mentioned. But when they say that, I'm like, come on. You could just say water. I'll get it if you just say water. You don't need to say still water because, Anyways, I'll move on from there. Do you have a video about passing multiple GPUs to a single Prox Max host independent VMs? Isn't the water from the still whiskey? Yeah, there you go. Oh, I like it. Maybe that's what they were asking me. Maybe they're asking me if I wanted whiskey. And I was thinking they were just being pompous. The still water, yeah, sounds like it costs more for sure. But yeah, a few times they've asked me and I'm just kind of like roll my eyes inside and I'm like, yes, I'll have still water. Anyways, I apologize if you work in the food service and you asked that question. It's just like when I heard it for the first time, I was just like kind of blown away. Like, I get it. Like, I totally get it now. You can differentiate between, seltzer and still. But, I don't need a moniker in front of water to let me know that it's regular water. Still water, yeah. Stagnant water, yeah. I guess, yeah. That too. Like, do you want some stagnant water out of like a pond? Oh yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Anyways, if you're in the food service if you're anywhere in the service industry, I don't mean to make fun of you. It's just there's sometimes like things inside where I'm just like it makes me laugh, and that's one of those things. Mr. Heartstomper. Mr. Armstomper, do you have a video about passing multiple? Hey, what's going on? Whoa. Alex, a petition for 10G to the Wi-Fi wife's office. Don't tell her other wives have 4 10 gig copper and 100 gig fiber. Have to run. Dude, thank you so much. Yeah, Dude, if I ran 10 gig to her office, now could I run 10 gig? Well, here, if I run gigabit there, I'm going to run Cat 6, right? So yeah, she'll have the option to do 10 gig, but then I would have to, then I could plug it into my 10 gig switch. And then, yeah, I could buy like a USB 10 gig adapter. It's her work laptop though. Do I want to give her work 10 gig? No, it's a work laptop, and we only have 500 gig up and down. And on top of that, her work VPN is probably like 50 megabit, and like everything goes through her work VPN. So like, yeah, I mean, I could. I will put Cat 6 there, so that, you know, in the event that she needs 10 gig in the future, it will be there. So yeah, but thank you, Alex. Thanks for the bits. I appreciate it. Have a happy Saturday too. Speaking of, Mr. Heartstomper, I'm gonna try to wrap things up. Do you have a video about passing multiple GPUs on a single Prox Max host to independent VMs? No, I do not. I have doing it once, and if you do it once, you should be able to do it twice, right? If you do it once, you should be able to do it twice, because the tough part on doing it once is making sure that IOMMU is working properly. So once you can pass through one video card, you should be able to pass through another, because all of those PCI Express IDs that you have in your dropdown should be different, right? And so if I've done it personally. I put 2 video cards in one machine. I had my P2200 Quadro, and then I had my 1050, and I was giving one to a Windows machine and the other to some other machine, I think to my Plex server at the time. And I did have 2. So if you do it once, you should be able to do it twice, right? And you just have to like select the other PCI Express device for that virtual machine. And they'll be different because they'll have different IDs. Even if they say the same name, you'll have to figure out which is which if they're the same model card. But they'll have different IDs, so it should work. I don't have a video. My video on doing it once should work. Just put in a second video card afterwards, and I promise it'll work because I've done it. All right, I'm gonna look for some ones that are calling me out specifically. Yo, Techno Tim, I got a reverse proxy server with Traefik from your guy, but I can't figure out how to make my services accessible outside of my home. Any network tips? I already port for the ports required, but that didn't help. I'm trying. It's probably because you need multiple labels then. Because if you're doing it internally and you have, it gets tough. But if you're doing it internally and you have your labels saying, hey, your label that defines the route is this, I think you'll have to give it another label and define another route. I don't know. I haven't done it that way. I've done it in Kubernetes where I have 2 ingress controllers. You're not doing that. So there are options. I think you might be able to create another route, another Traefik label that has the real route, so it will answer to those requests when forwarded to it, right? That's what I would try first. A route with your public name, a label which defines your route, which also has your public name of that, right? Because that's how it's working. That's how it's working, right? You're getting an HTTP request into that route, and then Traefik saying, hey, where are you trying to go to? And so that public one is saying example.com. And so Traefik's saying, yeah, we don't have a route for example.com. When you do it internally, you're probably doing something.local.example.com, right? And when that request goes there, Traefik says, oh yeah, I do have a route for something.local.example.com. Here you go. So I think you can add another label and then add the route for your public service name, which would be example.com. And I think that'll work. If that doesn't work, I mean, you could get fancy then and, use Cloudflare or something like that with tunnels if you want, but you probably want to use Traefik for both, or you could use both. But I think you could do multiple labels. I think because the labels are just creating those routes for you, right? They're just annotations. When Traefik sees it, they're like, hey, I got a label that's defining a route. I'm going to create a route inside of Traefik. And so that's how you create routes. So if you're doing it that way, assume you are. So I hope that works. Man, there's so many. I do apologize. There's so many message that I see that's skipping. I apologize. What do you make of the Intel's issues with CPUs laying off? Yeah. This is kind of what I was hinting at, Alex, a little bit earlier. It's tough. Like Intel's in a tough spot right now. And I'm not totally up to speed on like where the root of the problem is. You know, I've watched a couple of Windows videos on the Intel CPUs getting too much voltage. It seems like Intel might be saying, hey, Intel's not saying anything, I assume, right now, not that I've heard of. But I think they're trying to say, like, hey, it's the motherboard's fault, and then, and it's not our fault, and who knows. So I'm not totally up to speed on it. What I do know is that, Intel 13 and 14 gen CPUs are having some issues. Because they're getting too much voltage. Why are they getting too much voltage? Is debatable, right? And so I think that's the root problem. And so I think then Intel is like, okay, well, we'll create a fix now that will prevent it from getting too much voltage. But if you've already given it too much voltage, sorry, this won't fix it, but this will prevent it in the future. And so, that's a tough spot to be in. It's a tough spot to be in as Intel, and it's a tough spot to be in as a consumer, right? As someone who bought that. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, it's easy to pile on. I totally get it. I totally get like, hey, don't get me wrong. I have a CPU down here right here, 14 gen, that I haven't put in the thing yet, and I'm debating if I even put it in. In a board. So I'm actually going to do the flashback and pre-flash and, make sure that I have the latest firmware that isn't supplying too much voltage, and then somehow figure out how I do all this without damaging the CPU ahead of time. So I have one right there that I purchased, and if something goes wrong, I'm going to be pretty upset, and someone's going to have to reimburse me for it because, hey, I'm whoever it is to blame, I'm following this per spec. I'm not doing anything wrong. So yeah, if it happens to me, it's tough. And then on top of that, laying off some employees. I heard that some people said like they were offering, packages for people to leave ahead of time. Sometimes you see that with companies where they're like, hey, we're going to lay some people off, but also, do you want to retire early? Because we'll offer that up. So that's tough. I've been in a company where they did that same thing too. And, it's tough all around. It's tough. It's tough if you're a company in general. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of comments or thoughts. I just have a lot of feelings, right? Because I try to put myself in the side of Intel. Then I try to put myself in the side of a consumer, which I am, and I have a CPU laying right there. I just bought. Then I put myself in the in the side of like an employee there. Like there's just so many feelings, and it's tough. And and then at the end of the day, like. There's no good outcome. I don't think there's any good outcome. And like, even if they said, yep, we're going to refund and take every CPU back from everyone, I honestly think that would bankrupt the company, and then shareholders would, I don't know. I'm not saying they should or shouldn't. I'm just like exploring all possibilities. It's just tough all around. And like we want, I mean, if you're in the US especially, like we want Intel around. Like we want them around. We don't want them to fail, right? We don't want them to fail. I mean, despite, what you may or may think about them, it's tough when it's a chip maker and that we've depended on for a long time. So I don't know. It's tough all around. So no thoughts, a lot of feelings. Those are the feelings and thoughts that I have going on in my head. I can empathize with, I think, a lot of parties in there. And I start getting overwhelmed when I start thinking about it, just like I am now. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. All right, y'all. I went a little bit over today, and I am gonna wrap it up. I do apologize. I know I skipped over a ton of comments. Today was pretty eventful as far as comments go. So thank you. I appreciate that. That is something that I love having. Comments more than anything. Like, don't get me wrong. I bits and subs and gifted subs are all awesome, and thank you so much for doing that. And it helps me continue to do this thing in the future. And it helps me buy stuff like this Intel CPU you see down there that might burn up as soon as I plug it in. So that definitely helps me financially and do cool projects like I have coming up, and projects like I have back there that aren't free. So I appreciate that, but I especially love the comments, and I love to talk about this stuff because this gives me ideas and it gives me a lot of perspective on things, that I might not have to think about ever. So I appreciate it. If you got something you want to say, if I didn't answer your question, if you just want to share your comment or get more feedback from just me, from more than just me, we have a Discord server. We're really close to 10,000 members. I would encourage you to join. You can get there by just Google Techno Tim Discord server, DuckDuckGo, or Google it with DuckDuckGo, and figure out where my Discord server is. It's pretty easy to get there. It's open to the public. Partner server, pretty chill. A lot of helpful people. So anyways, thank you so much for joining. Like I said, I'll have something. If all goes well, I'll have a side quest out on my second channel on something I've been working on that'll be out tomorrow morning, hopefully. And then I will be back here next Saturday on Twitch. And then hopefully I'll have something out on YouTube this week. It's been, even though you haven't seen anything from me, it's been tough because I'm trying to get I have 2 projects that I'm working on simultaneously that aren't out for a while, but I have to work on them ahead of time because of the way that it works out. So I've been super busy. So anyways, have a great rest of the day. Have a happy Saturday and be good to each other. Take care, folks.